I'm not doing this part. That just looks so aggressive to me, and it scares me. I like your kahiki pants. It's sweaty. Looks like you just came from work. You did. Both holes are drilled. There's two portions to this bumper. There's this fiberglass outer, and then there's like a metal inner, and you have to cut both of them. And you try and cut it at a bit of an angle because you know the pipe is going to swoop down at an angle. And that one's done. We also have our Shearer Fab twin turbo intercooler here as well. Dual inlet on the bottom, one outlet in the top. That's going to go on after we can figure out what we're going to do with like the hood. So it's going to fit this area somewhere. But for now, I'm going to start building the exhaust dumps out to the fenders. We're going to use these Vibrant bullet mufflers, which probably don't do anything but make you feel good that you can say you have a little muffler in there. And I've got to keep cutting and cleaning up some more pie cuts. Okay, so we have from the rounded edge right here to about right there behind the turbine housing. We're gonna weld up this piece right here, which will get us down to where the T4 flange is. So it's going to loop around this way and then downwards, and it's gonna get us right where that T4 flange is down there. We're gonna put a V-band on it, put the muffler in it, and then a little swoop out the bottom. Pie cuts, just a lot of welding. Just finishing the exhaust here. It's all the way welded, except for this piece on the end, which I'm going to mark with this custom-made piece that I made here. It's just a marker wrapped in electrical tape with a little bit of extra majiggy. And that's just gonna space it out enough that if I rub this on the body all the way around, that should give us like even spacing with the body line. Let's just see if this plan worked. And there we have it. Side one, it does need the trim ring, but I did do my best to follow the body lines so it doesn't stick out too far on one side versus the other. If you do look at it from like this angle, it looks a little wonky, but everything is roughly 1/2 inch to 5/8 the whole way around evenly. It's just the panel isn't flat. Now I gotta take this piece of pipe and cut it in a bajillion pie cuts for side two. All right, let me set something straight here. This Fox body is my friend Colby's. I'm helping him out by helping build some of the parts on this one, but it's really in anticipation of building my own. So I have my own notchback Fox body, which is at Colby's house. It's just a roller, it's got an 8.8 in it, it's got a cage in it. So everything you've seen in this car, the G-Force transmission, the Gen 3 Hemi, is also gonna be going in my car. Here is my G-Force transmission, the exact same one as in this car. But instead of a Hellcat engine, we're going to be using this 5.7. So mine's gonna be a bit more budget build, which you guys could probably relate to. Nobody is doing Gen 3 Hemi 5.7 stuff on the internet that I can find. Well, like popularity wise, there's nothing there. So we're gonna slap a piston rod combo in this bad boy. This is all the parts here, and this is all new territory to me, but just ripping down this much, I can already tell that the Hemi is very LS based looking. We'll dive into that after, and we're gonna continue working on the exhaust on this thing. More pie cuts all day. I'm getting a little bit more consistent with my welding. I'm just trying to be, you know, consistent with it. And I don't back purge anything past the turbo, only pre-turbo. You'd be fine. Now I'm actually going to weld one of these pie cuts to the V-band first, because once I make this a 180-degree bend, it's hard to weld the inside of this V-band. And I've made that mistake on the last one, not doing it this time. I switched to my number 12 cup. I find it's way more consistent than the 16. I'm probably just not using enough gas for the 16. This makes the whole process worth it. You can see the color is better where I was using the 12 cup versus how like faded it is with the 16. So definitely not enough gas with the 16, but this is the start to our downpipe, which it kind of replicates from here to here and this side. So we're about halfway done. Oh, we're halfway there. Here's our final result. This puts us at the same spot where the V-band is on this side. So we're going out the turbo, up and over, down to the V-band. Next up, we do the muffler and then the little tiny, well not tiny, it's still like 6 pie cuts to get out the fender. This side had a little bit more room just because the turbo's in a little bit more on this side. I kind of matched it up with the bar right there. But the bar is actually tucked under the fender on this side and not tucked under the fender on this side. I didn't do the tube front, so I based it off the bars. Still looks okay. I am not joking. I did the math. There's 54 welds between the 2 downpipes at 11 inches circumference each. It comes out to 49.5 feet of welding. It literally took me between 20 and 25 hours to make these downpipes. It was a lot, but they fit. And you can barely even see them. So they go in, around, down, muffler, out the side. Both sides. Finally move on to mounting the intercooler. For the record, when I build my Hemi Fox, single turbo. So huge shout out, Brian at Performance Plus. Performance Plus helped us get one of the sexiest pieces made for this car. Look at that Plasma Man intake. That's a billet Gen 3 Hemi intake. It does not clear that water pump right there, so we're gonna have to modify the water pump outlet a little bit. But we needed that so we could join the turbos up to the intake. I had no good way to prop open this hood, so I'm gonna put an anchor in the roof real quick and use a ratchet strap to hold the hood open. Hope that doesn't break, that'll hurt if it falls on my head. Like I said, billet Plasma Man intake. Comes with the HD clamp here. We're gonna put the intercooler right here and hopefully like a straight shot. We're gonna have to modify the water pump a little bit because the outlet is obviously in the way. But that is straight up very cool. It will not bolt to a set of Hellcat heads. The Hellcat heads has its own bolt pattern for the blower, but the heads are the same casting as the heads that fit this, so you just have to drill and tap the head to accept the bolt holes. All right, we've got to get the intercooler in place. I think we're going to use the same lower bar that we used to mount the radiator and the same style mounts on the bottom. So we're going to cut this engine mount in half. We're going to use these as inserts in there, and then we just have to weld the piece on the bottom of the intercooler to go into this, so it can just rest on top of that. These pieces will get welded to the bottom of the intercooler. That will get welded to the bar on the bottom. They fit in there. Self-explanatory. Our 2 mounts below, just tack welded onto that bar down there. Intercooler sits on top, and it's pretty solid already. I'm gonna try and test fit the bumper over top of this, even though that is a badass look, and see what we come up with.
Subscribe to Boosted Lifestyle.
Here's the bumper on there. It needs a little bit of cutting in the bumper area, and this is somewhat how it's gonna fit. Right now it just touches the hood, but if we need to, we can always clearance this part of the radiator right here. We can cut down that flange and put a tighter radius 90 on it. This is just a steel one I had laying around, just to give you an idea of kind of what's gonna happen. Obviously this water pump piece is in the way. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pull the water pump off, figure out how the passaging works in it, see if we can cut this piece off, maybe weld up a few passages and put a dash 16 bung on there and just bypass the thermostat altogether. I've been having so much fun on this Hemi. I can't wait to put mine together. It looks as if the coolant's gonna go in the engine through these two holes down here and then out the hole up here in the top, which makes sense. It comes in the pump right here, in through here, and then out through both of these, which go into the engine and then out the engine in the top right here. The only thing in the top, we have two passages. So this furthest one in the back right here is actually connected to the inlet of the motor, which allows coolant to go from hot out of the engine and cycle back into the water pump. And then this main one, obviously where the thermostat goes, is connected directly to the hole in the top. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to lop this off somewhere here, block off that back hole because the thermostat usually blocks that off, and then somehow plate it in and put like a dash 16 bung in there somewhere.
Here's our very rough outline of what we did. I'm still wearing my mask, but block off this hole, make a new hole over here, and dash 16 bung over here somewhere.
This is the end result. I put a plug in this side and a plate on that side, weld them in. I'm actually gonna bolt this up to the car and let it cool down on the car so it doesn't warp up. Just like myself, not the prettiest thing in the world to look at, but look at all the clearance we got in there now. Zero issues. We just have to put a bung over here because that has to connect to this. Baller! You may have noticed that I uploaded less frequently, and it's probably on myself to a lot of overthinking and analyzing, but I did notice the YouTube algorithm moved into more like dense, shorter, more action-packed, full-length videos, if that makes sense.
Nope.
Like a 20-minute video that a project from start to finish does really well. And I tried to move towards that format, and I noticed I'd be like, that's kind of boring, I don't want to film that, and then that nobody's gonna want to watch that, so I'm not gonna film that. And then I realized that I stopped filming almost everything, and then I just ended up with almost nothing. So I'm not gonna worry about what the algorithm says or what I should and shouldn't do. I'm just gonna do what I enjoy doing, because somewhere along the way I feel like I lost what I enjoyed doing, and then I just eventually didn't want to do anything. And I'm a tinkerer, man.
I do what I know. I tinker.
That's half the reason that I took this car on, is just I love tinkering and building things that shouldn't be built. A Hellcat and a Fox body Mustang, not a very common swap. And I mean, just look at it now. I built that. That was a whole lot of fun. Mounted the engine, mounted the turbos, the intercooler, the radiator, make sure that everything fits the way it should fit. Make sure we clearance things that need to be clearanced. I'm gonna do what I wanna do from now on. Speaking of which, Gina and I are actually going to a convention in Fort Worth, Texas called Loot Fest. We'll be there Friday and Saturday. We'll also be in Texas on Sunday because we thought it was Sunday too. So we'll be there for the weekend anyways in Fort Worth. I've already contacted Evan Shanks. He's already gone on his vacation, so I can't see him there, but it should be a good time regardless. The original bar almost fits in here, but it doesn't quite, so I'm gonna have to like loop it right here a little bit, notch it, and move it a little tiny bit, no big deal. The intercooler, the plan for this thing is there's actually an HD clamp on here that has a little bit of play. I'm gonna weld a V-band to this side, and I think our pipe's gonna go a little bit something like that. We actually have one Black Sheep Industries blow-off valve on this thing. I might try and put two on there just to make it like even on both sides so it looks better. And then the intercooler piping from the turbo down to the intercooler is pretty self-explanatory. We just have to clearance the bumper a little bit. And I won't be doing any of the wiring or anything on this car. I absolutely hate wiring. Colby's gonna do the wiring in this. So when this goes over to his place, either my Fox body can come in here or Gina's Fox body can come in here, because we've got to do a converter in Gina's car because we couldn't get up on the trans brake last year with hers. We could only get like 3,700 RPM at like 12 seconds. And that's why Gina didn't run faster than a 10.9 that day, because we were out of boost controller and out of converter. So either my Hemi Fox is gonna come over or Gina's is gonna come in here so we can do the converter real quick. And it depends if this leaves before the snow leaves or not, because we can drive Gina's car over. And I don't think I've given you the walk around on this car, but it is so clean. Like, this is the original paint on this car. I don't want to tell you what this car costed to buy because it was a lot, but that is the original paint. The hood is fiberglass, so that has to get painted. There's a little couple scuffs in the bumper, but this thing is in phenomenal shape. It already has an 850 cage in it. All the interior bits are still with it. It's all red interior stuff. This is the fuel cell we're gonna have to mount. We might actually add an addition on it, a small little race cell, so that's what we're waiting for to mount this thing. We're gonna get some aluminum plate cut up, build another cell on the side of this one, so this could be race gas, this one could be pump gas. You just gotta switch over the lines at the track, and that'll be good to go. The back is cut out and mini tubbed. Like I said, mini tubs, it's 850 cage, 4 9-inch coilover shocks. It's on a 275 radial. And like I said before, this one's a stick shift car. It's just like mine is going to be with this transmission, a T56 Magnum, like billet everything in it. Like this is a billet input shaft right there. And we're building them for drag and drives. So 850 should be plenty. And I feel the status of drag and drives right now, if you can consistently run like an 850 in a quarter mile, you have a good shot of winning at most places. Because I know Rich in the GTO, his average is like 870s, 880s most times. I know Chad with the red Corvette is an absolute monster. So if he's there, you're probably gonna lose. But for the most part, this one and my Fox, we're trying to hit like consistent 850s. But this is how we're gonna leave it today. It does look really clean right now, but you gotta remember we've gotta add coolant lines, coolant overflow tank, a couple of catch cans, the fuel rails, fuel lines, throttle cables, belts. Like there's a lot of things that have to be added in here that make it a little more cluttered looking than it actually is. But I love this look right now. It looks even better with the bumper off. I'm not gonna take it off now. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. I'll be at Loop Fest, like I said. When I get back, I'm building the push rod suspension for the F1 cart. A bit more fabrication on this thing. And you know what? I'm just gonna turn the camera on a little more often. If you guys wanna see a video of us at Loop Fest, it'll be on Alien Trash Kitty. That's Gina's YouTube channel, or Facebook. She's got a giant Facebook following, actually. Peace easy. Get that V.